Returning to our top story this morning, one of the most powerful and consequential vice presidents in U.S. history, Dick Cheney, has died at 84. We're going to bring in CTV News political analyst Eric Ham, who joins us live from Washington this morning. Good morning to you, Eric. Right off the bat here, you cannot think of a more powerful and upfront vice president in the U.S. than Dick Cheney. How would you describe Dick Cheney's legacy as U.S. vice president?
You're right. Not only was he perhaps the most powerful vice president in American history, he was also one of the most polarizing political figures of the 20th century. He was the architect of the war on terror, leading the United States into two wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, both of which many believe are seen as colossal failures for the United States. In addition to that, he was not only a polarizing and very powerful figure, but he also was seen as a key figure within the Republican Party as well. He was someone who came into his own as chief of staff for Gerald Ford, former president, also becoming a congressman before moving on to become the vice president for George W. Bush. And he was someone also, we've seen this battle for the soul of the Republican Party. And given how towering a figure that Dick Cheney was seen as, in fact, many actually compared him to Darth Vader. He was seen as someone who was just all powerful, all knowing, but also someone who many believed was just deeply evil. And the fact that he was discarded, pushed out by Donald Trump and his MAGA base that took control of the party speaks to just the massive sea change that we saw just within a decade of Donald Trump's rise to power, and how over the final years of his life, Dick Cheney pretty much fell back into obscurity, removing himself from the party after epic battles with Donald Trump. And now we see that while his legacy will certainly endure and remain polarizing, he was just not someone who was able to have a voice, a face, and even a hand in the reshaping of the Republican Party. Such a massive, massive fall for someone who was seen as so consequential and so powerful at one time.
Eric, when it comes to international relations and the current global climate, how did Cheney's policy decisions have a lasting impact on the state of the world as we see it now?
I think both Cheney and Bush, because of what they executed during the global war on terror, not only did we see the approval rating of the United States fall to its farthest at any time in history, but also many of America's allies also began to distance themselves, particularly when you saw some of the torture renderings that took place at Guantanamo Bay, and how the United States began to treat prisoners of war, something that even went against the Geneva Conventions. And it took the Obama administration years to rebuild that trust, rebuild that relationship, even reaching its zenith of actually normalizing relations with Iran, which many would have thought was impossible. And now, particularly given where we are with relations now, you think that was a lifetime ago. And so, again, I think we have seen these ebbs and flows of how the United States has been able to be seen as a force for good, but also a force for really bad, given how Dick Cheney was able to orchestrate so many negative and unpopular policies. And much of that we're seeing actually play out right now with Donald Trump in the White House.
CTV News political analyst Eric Ham, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.